Hare Krishna, welcome all of you to this daily program. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki jai, Nitai Chaitanya ki jai, Parshuram Bhagwan ki jai, Vaman Dev ki jai, Giri Govardhan ki jai, Nitai Chaitanya ki jai, Panchtattva Bhagwan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyatya Desha Tarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are doing this chapter number 18, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation, 18.74. Sanjayo vacha ityaham vasudevasya partasya cha mahatmanah samvadam imam ashrausam Adbhutam Roma Harshanam. Sanjaya said, "Thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end." So after Krishna asked Arjuna, "Have you attentively understood this Bhagavad Gita?" Arjuna said that all my ignorance has been completely finished, and I shall follow what you said. He said, Nashto moha smritir labdva tvat prasadat mayachita karishye vachanam tava. Such a very significant verse which says that now I shall act according to your instruction. So this is so important turning point. It's so important for us also to act like Arjuna, to get the mood of Arjuna that karishye vachanam tava. I shall follow whatever you say, I shall follow. This is the mood that we should get from Arjuna. Okay. So after hearing Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was transformed and he said that my ignorance has been dispelled completely and now I shall 100% follow you. I'm going to be completely surrendered to you. And then this conversation that Sanjaya has been speaking about, this is the conversation of Bhagavad Gita. Who is Sanjaya? Sanjaya is the secretary of Dhritarashtra. The first question of Bhagavad Gita was by Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra asked, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. That means he is asking to Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra is asking Sanjaya, after having assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what did my sons and the Pandavas do? That's the question. That has been Sanjaya asked. So Sanjaya is replying to that question. And he was saying, what was the conversation that's happening? So now after remembering this conversation, after he has completely narrated this conversation, the reaction of Sanjaya is this. Sanjaya is saying that, thus I have heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna. And this message is so wonderful. This message of Bhagavad Gita, it's so wonderful that my hair is standing on the end. Adbhutam Roma Harshanam. Roma Harshanam. So it's like a goosebumps is one of the symptoms of ecstatic loving devotional service. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he used to exhibit this symptom of goosebumps. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to remember Lord Sri Krishna, all the hair on the skin, they used to stand on the ends. And they used to stand so, firm that he used to look like some kind of a pineapple. How does a pineapple look? So very hard texture. So all the hair would stand on the end like that. So that's a symptom of loving devotional service. So here, Sanjaya has heard this conversation personally. He is narrating it to Dhritarashtra. And then it was very wonderful because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, was speaking himself. Yes, Supreme Lord Krishna was speaking about himself. He's himself speaking about himself, right? And he's talking about who he is, what are his energies to a living entity, Arjuna. I mean, who can get this opportunity to narrate this conversation between the Supreme Lord and the devotee, right? So the point is, we have to follow the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna. Then our life will be happy and successful. Sanjaya understood this point, and he was able to relate this conversation to Dhritarashtra. So in the next verse, we will be seeing what is the benefit of this conversation, what is the importance of this conversation, and how wherever Lord Sri Krishna is there and Arjuna is there, victory is there. Okay, so this is such a wonderful conversation, right? Bhagavad Gita, the conversation between the Supreme Lord himself and the living entity. A lot of times we ask, I want to talk to God. It would have been nice if God comes to me and talks and tells me something. So here is God himself giving a message to all of us through the medium of Arjuna, through the medium of the disciplic succession. The message is this, that we must surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's a nice verse in the Kapila Gita which says this, Nanyatra mad bhagavataha pradhana purusheshwarat atmana sarvabhutanam bhayam tibram nivartate. The terrible fear of birth and death can never be forsaken by anyone who resorts to any shelter other than myself. For I am the Almighty Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original source of all creation, and also the Supreme Soul of all the souls. So Lord Krishna, he is saying in the incarnation of Kapila, in Srimad Bhagavatam, that if we want to get rid of the fear of birth and death, this fear of birth and death is Tivram. It is Bhayam Tivram. That means it is terrible fear. And there is no other means to forsake this terrible fear of birth and death other than surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So also it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that Ye Anyara Vindaksha Vimuktamaninaha. That means all the demigods are praying to Lord Krishna and they're saying, see, there are some people who do not surrender to Lord Sri Krishna, and they may even go up to the position of liberation. But then, from that position of liberation, what happens? Aruhya kruchena parampadam tataha patanti adho anadrita yusmat angrayaha. That means they may think that they are liberated because their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. That means even if somebody comes to the platform of liberation without surrendering to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, he will fall down from that platform of liberation to back to the normal material platform if he does not have regard for the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. So this is the message of Bhagavad Gita, that we should not become puffed up. We should not think that we have become liberated by any artificial means or any kind of spiritual yoga systems. We should never think that we are very great people or we are very intelligent. We are very austere. I am a very austere person. No, nothing is going to work except for this message of Bhagavad Gita, except for Krishna consciousness. We should not falsely think. See, the Mayavadis, they think like that. They have no regard for this conversation of Bhagavad Gita. There are so many people, there are so many spiritual, so-called spiritual gurus, they are talking about spirituality all the day, but they say that I have not read Bhagavad Gita. So we should not follow such people. You see, there is a verse in Gita Mahatmya that says, if there is any person who says, I don't read Bhagavad Gita, but I am following the yoga system and I will become liberated, even a small child can laugh at that person because he is a laughing stock. So that's the Gita Mahatmya. It is Vaishnaviya Tantra Sara. It's a Vedic literature that says that. So this is Bhagavad Gita, that by discarding the scripture and trying any artificial means of liberation, it is not going to take us a long way. So this Bhagavad Gita, if we reject Bhagavad Gita and take anything else, it is said, it is as good as giving up a pot of ambrosia, nectar, that is Amrita, and taking a pot of poison. If we give up Bhagavad Gita, it is as good as giving up a pot of nectar. And by giving it up, we are taking poison. You see, where the demigods and the demons, they were combinedly doing a project for the sake of churning the milk ocean. The demigods, they always used to listen to Lord Vishnu. And they got what? Finally, they got the pot of ambrosia. Correct? So, if we surrender to Lord Sri Krishna, we get this pot of ambrosia. That is the pot of nectar. This pot of nectar is called Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So this Srimad Bhagavad Gita is such a wonderful textbook. It's such a unique textbook. And it is not something that it has been given only 5,000 years ago. No, we should not think like that. Because this is coming in the disciplic succession. So Krishna is saying, Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam. So that is, Krishna has given this knowledge to Vivasvan, sun god. That is crores of years ago. And then Vivasvan manave praha. The Vivasvan, sun god has given to Manu, Vaivasvata Manu. Manu Rikshvakave Bravit. Manu gave it to Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku, we know the source of the Ikshvaku race, where Lord Ramchandra was born. So, Manu Rikshvakave Bravit. Sakalina Mahamata. Yogo Brashta Parantapa. So, what has happened is, over the disciplic succession, it has been coming in the disciplic succession of the Rajarshis, the saintly kings, Bhagavad Gita. Because there are some people who object and say, Bhagavad Gita is only 5,000 years ago. What about before? Bhagavad Gita is always present. Because Bhagavad Gita is avyayam. Bhagavad Gita is indestructible. It is eternally present. Originally, this system of yoga has been given by Lord Sri Krishna to the sun god. And it has been passed on like that. But what has happened? Yogo nashta parantapaha. This disciplic succession, the chain got broken. So that's the reason why Krishna re-established. Krishna is retelling Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And now we are in that disciplic succession of Arjuna. So we may think, is Arjuna a spiritual master? Yes, of course, Arjuna is a spiritual master. So Vyasadeva has recorded this Bhagavad Gita, right? Who is the contemporary of Arjuna. And so Arjuna is also a spiritual master. And we are hearing through Vyasadeva. Right? Vyasadeva has written this Bhagavad Gita and he has put it in the middle of Mahabharata. Bhagavad Gita is a part of what? Mahabharata. So if you think of Mahabharata like a gold, Bhagavad Gita is the diamond. When you have a diamond ring, how does it look? There is a diamond and there is a ring, golden ring around it. But you call it a diamond ring or a golden ring? What do you call it? Diamond or golden ring? You call it the diamond ring because diamond is more precious than the gold. So Mahabharata is Panchama Veda. It's like the biggest epic. It is like the sum and substance of all the Vedas that has been written by Vyasadeva for the less intelligent people of Kali Yuga. And among Mahabharata, the best part, the milk of it, is Bhagavad Gita. So we have been discussing this Bhagavad Gita for the last 2 years, right? And we are almost like reaching the end of it now. Okay, we are in verse number 18.74. And there are just like 4 more verses before we finish. And then we will be completing this Bhagavad Gita completely. One complete round of reading Bhagavad Gita. But is that enough? We have to question ourselves. You see, Srila Prabhupada said the way we have to read Bhagavad Gita is, he said, read one chapter repeatedly and go to the next one. Repeatedly, go to the next one. And repeatedly reread the entire book until each and every single question gets answered. So Prabhupada says, we must understand Bhagavad Gita. So one day what happened, in one ISKCON temple, everybody were reciting Bhagavad Gita. Verse after verse, verse after verse. Prabhupada was not impressed. Prabhupada stopped in between. And he stopped and he called one of the devotees and asked, can you explain me what is the meaning of this verse? He said, I don't know, Prabhupada. He asked some more people. And he said, what is more important than memorizing these verses is to understand them. So it's very unique. Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada emphasizes on understanding Bhagavad Gita, not about just going through it as a ritual. We have to understand each and every verse. Until we understand, we have to completely read it again and again and again and again. One day what happened? Srila Prabhupada, his disciple came running. All his disciples from the West, from USA, they had come to India. Okay, and they were trying to preach. And then one disciple came running and said, Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I cannot preach Bhagavad Gita here. Then he asked, what happened? I went to a vegetable vendor and I was trying to preach him. Okay, read Bhagavad Gita. And then he said, what is there that you have got to teach me? I know the entire Bhagavad Gita by heart. And he started reciting from the first verse till the 700 verses. Then I felt I have nothing and I came running. Then Prabhupada said, there's a lot of difference between his understanding and your understanding. You are living Bhagavad Gita. You are acting according to Bhagavad Gita. He has only memorized it. You have to teach everybody, you have to teach the world how to live the principles of Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual principles, having a spiritual life. That you can do, you can teach that. He may not be able to do it because he only knows the verses. This is very, very unique, right? So there is also one nice story that I want to tell you. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was traveling in the south, and then he sees that there was a Brahmana, illiterate Brahmana, who was trying to read Bhagavad Gita. But then he's not able to read it. The reason is because he did not know Sanskrit. He was illiterate in Sanskrit. And everybody were laughing at him. And he was crying. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, why are you crying? Why are they laughing and why are you crying? And he said, I'm reading Bhagavad Gita. I don't know Sanskrit. That's the reason why they are laughing. That's okay, but why are you crying? He said, see, the reason I'm crying is my Guru Maharaj, he said, read Bhagavad Gita always. That was the instruction that he gave me. But then I'm illiterate, so therefore I open this book every single day and I see the cover page. You see the cover page of Bhagavad Gita. It contains the picture of Lord Krishna on the chariot of Arjuna, who is acting as a charioteer for Arjuna. So when I simply looked at this picture, that the controller of all the universes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has agreed to become a driver to his devotee. When I simply look at this picture, I feel like crying. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you are a perfect student for Bhagavad Gita. This is the way in which you have to understand Bhagavad Gita. And he said, I shall teach you Bhagavad Gita. So what is the lesson for us? What do we learn from this? What is the right attitude of learning Bhagavad Gita? A lot of people think they can understand Bhagavad Gita by Sanskrit, by proficiency in Sanskrit. No, it's not the proficiency of Sanskrit that is required for understanding Bhagavad Gita. It is the faith. It is the surrender to the spiritual master. It is surrender to Krishna, faith in Krishna, love for Krishna, more important, bhaktyamam abhijanati. Just like that illiterate Brahmana, he had faith in Krishna, he had faith in Bhagavad Gita, he had faith in the Guru, he had love for Krishna. So that is what we must develop. So when we develop love for Krishna, then we shall understand Bhagavad Gita. So when we understand Bhagavad Gita the way it is supposed to be understood, then we shall experience the same symptoms that Sanjaya did. Sanjaya is saying that I have goosebumps when I relate to this conversation, this wonderful conversation. If I just think about this conversation, my hair is standing on the end. This Bhagavad Gita knowledge is such an amazing knowledge. I'll tell you what happened next. After hearing Bhagavad Gita, what happened to Arjuna? Arjuna, did he renounce? Did he become a saint? No, he didn't. He continued to do his duties. And towards the end, when first Lord Sri Krishna left this material planet, afterwards the Pandavas got to know. After the Pandavas got to know, Arjuna, he went to Dwarka to find out what happened. When he found out, he became very depressed. And he came back and he reported back to his elder brother, Krishna has left this material planet. And then he was not able to control himself and he said, as soon as Krishna left, all my prowess also has left me. All these days, whatever victory that we have got, it was because of Krishna. And then he started to sit down and meditate upon the message of Bhagavad Gita. He started to remember the message of Bhagavad Gita at that point of time when he was at his low. And then he got the composure of his mind. And once he got the composure of his mind, all the Pandavas, Kunti Devi, Draupadi, all of them, they left their bodies one by one. They all went back to Godhead. This is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the benefit of hearing Bhagavad Gita. How Arjuna has heard it. Arjuna has heard it and he has implemented it. He has lived the life of Bhagavad Gita. And therefore, at the end, he went back to Godhead. At the end, he remembered Bhagavad Gita and he went back to Godhead. He remembered this conversation that Lord Krishna taught him. So this is the idea of hearing Bhagavad Gita. Okay, that we remember it always and we understand it. So the message of today's class is, it's not just about understanding it once. Repeatedly, we have to read this, okay, until we understand it. And we can understand only if we have the mood of Arjuna, if we have that mood of the illiterate Brahmana, being very humble, down to earth, and having love for Krishna, faith in the spiritual master, following the process, then we can understand. And also the message is that if we hear this Bhagavad Gita, this will help us. At the time of need, when we are at a complete low, at that time, this will help us to regain our composure. It will help us to remember about Krishna and help us to go back to home, back to Godhead. Right? Okay. Thank you very much, devotees. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Would you like to add something, anyone?
Yeah. Prabhuji, I would like to say something.
Please.
Prabhuji, like you've been emphasizing, like, we should have a trust in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Guru. We have example even now, like Prabhupada. If he had not listened to his Guru, he wouldn't have founded ISKCON. The Westerners wouldn't have been preached about Gita. And even our Guru Maharaj is, last week we had Indradrum Swami Maharaj. He said, it was not that we didn't have wealth. It was not that we were not in a permissive society. It was not that, there were not good-looking girls around. He said, our love for Srila Prabhupada and our trust for him, we left everything and followed him. And here we are, 52 years of sannyas. So this is Bhagavad Gita and this is trust. And, you see where he is today, like, 52 years of sannyas of an American. And we say, oh, because we don't have anything, we are in hardship, we have to follow. He said, no, I came from an affluent family.
Wow.
So this is what we have to do. We have to put in our trust. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Dandavat to all.
Dandavat Pranam. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for adding that. Would anybody like to add something? Any comments? Right? So amazing message. Very nice. Indradyumna Maharaj is coming from an affluent family from the West. It's not that he didn't have girls to marry, right? But then he had faith in Srila Prabhupada, faith in the spiritual master, and then he's where he is today, right? So that's the thing. So we must have faith in the word of the spiritual master and follow the instruction of spiritual master. It's as simple as that. That's it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, devotees. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam.